When Dale Earnhardt Jr. climbed behind the wheel of a drag racing truck and hit 140 miles per hour in just a quarter mile, his first words weren't about the speed. They were about how a YouTuber just exposed NASCAR's biggest problem. What happened next has the entire racing world talking. We're witnessing something that's never happened before in motorsports history. A guy who started making car videos in his garage now has NASCAR legends scrambling to understand what just hit them. Cletus McFarland isn't just some internet personality playing dress-up in a race car. He's proving that the old way of doing things in NASCAR might be completely broken. Let's start from the beginning. Back in 2015, Garrett Mitchell was just another young guy making car videos for fun. Then one day in July, his friend Kyle Loftus jokingly called him Cleetus in a random video. That throwaway moment changed everything. Fans latched onto the character, and eventually Garrett completely transformed his YouTube channel to match his new identity as Cletus McFarland. But here's where it gets interesting. Garrett didn't just stumble into success. He worked for years with Kyle Loftus, who owned the popular YouTube channel 1320 Video. Garrett started as a high school kid asking if he could help with social media. For years, he worked without getting paid, just learning how YouTube actually works. When that viral video finally hit and Cletus was born, Kyle could have easily tried to cash in on the success. Instead, he helped Garrett build his own empire. That empire is exactly what NASCAR didn't see coming. Cletus wasn't content just making videos about cars. He built the Freedom Factory, created legendary vehicles like Leroy the Savage, and turned car content into a lifestyle brand about friendship, humor, and freedom. By the time he decided to go racing professionally, he already had over 4 million subscribers who would follow him anywhere. Then came 2025, and Cletus made his professional racing debut in the ARCA Menard Series at Daytona. The race was a disaster. He got caught up in a crash and finished 30th place. But something unprecedented happened that day. His in-car camera stream pulled in over 40,000 live viewers. The Fox Sports coverage featuring him got 5.8 million views. That's more than 10 times what some RCA races normally attract. NASCAR commentator Mike Joy had been warning about this exact problem for months. The sports audience is aging rapidly, and younger fans just aren't engaging. As Joy put it, the same age group that watches old TV reruns is the same group watching NASCAR. The sport has 18 and 20-year-old drivers making their mark, but the fan base keeps getting older. NASCAR was losing the young audience it desperately needed to survive. Then Cletus proved something that should terrify NASCAR executives. He brought fans who had never watched a race before. They didn't tune in for the competition or the traditional storylines. They showed up because Cletus made racing feel real, spontaneous, and fun. This became known as the Cletus McFarland effect, and it caught the attention of NASCAR's biggest name. Dale Earnhardt Jr. invited Cletus onto his podcast, The Dale Jr. Download. When Dale Jr. pays attention to someone, it means they've made a real impact. The podcast episode became the third most watched on the Dirty Mo Media YouTube channel. They discussed everything from Cletus's debut to how social media is completely changing the fan experience. But the real moment of truth came when Dale Jr. got behind the wheel of Cletus's creation, the Dale truck. This isn't just any vehicle. It's a modified NASCAR Craftsman truck built specifically for drag racing, painted as a tribute to Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s legendary number 3 car. What happened next changed Dale Jr.'s entire perspective on what Cletus was actually accomplishing. When Dale Jr. hit that launch button, the truck went from 0 to 140 miles per hour in a quarter mile. The acceleration was so intense that his whole body got pushed back into the seat and his foot literally came off the floor. Dale Jr. described the experience on his podcast, telling his wife Amy that it was like a jump scare. He compared it to walking through haunted woods when someone jumps out with a chainsaw. The first run actually scared him so much that he lifted off the gas early. Cletus, reviewing the data, saw that Dale Jr. had dropped to just 26% throttle only 1/10 of a second into the run. But Dale Jr. wasn't done. He wanted to try again immediately. The second run went much better, and he stayed committed to full throttle. When he climbed out of that truck, he was grinning like a kid. But 10 minutes later, something else hit him. He started thinking about Tony Stewart, who had just won his first NHRA Top Fuel victory. Dale Jr. realized that if a drag racing truck could give him that kind of rush, What must it be like for drivers going 300 miles per hour in top fuel? He gained a completely new respect for what Stewart had accomplished, transitioning from NASCAR to becoming one of the best drag racers in the world. This experience wasn't just about speed, it was about Dale Jr. understanding that Cleetus had built something legitimate. The Dale truck wasn't some YouTube gimmick. It was a professionally built machine with a Pete Harrell engine and custom four-wheel drive setup that impressed even a NASCAR Hall of Famer. The validation continued when Cleetus returned to Talladega for the General Tire 200. This time, things went very differently. Despite racing on just 7 cylinders for most of the race after breaking a valve spring on lap 5, Cleetus managed to finish in the top 10. He completed all 77 laps and beat several series regulars in the process. The crowd response was incredible. NASCAR streamed his in-car camera on YouTube, and viewership peaked at over 60,000 people. After the race, retired drivers Greg Biffle and Max Papis both came to congratulate him. Papi said something that perfectly captured what was happening. He called Cleetus a badass race car driver who fakes being a YouTuber, not the other way around. But let's be honest about what this really means for NASCAR. The sport is facing an existential crisis. Traditional TV deals and press releases aren't reaching young audiences anymore. While NASCAR struggles with aging demographics, other sports are adapting. We've seen Jake Paul bring millions of new fans to boxing. Cleetus is doing the same thing for racing. When one YouTuber can generate 5.8 million post-race views and tens of thousands of live stream viewers, it forces NASCAR to ask some uncomfortable questions. Young people want content that feels authentic and interactive. They want to feel connected to the personalities, not just watch from a distance. Cleetus delivers exactly that. His content isn't polished corporate messaging, it's real people having genuine fun with fast cars. When he crashes at Daytona, he admits his mistakes and talks about what he learned. When he succeeds at Talladega, he celebrates with fans who feel like they're part of the journey. The numbers don't lie. Cleetus's racing content consistently outperforms traditional NASCAR coverage among younger demographics. His collaboration with Dale Jr. bridged the gap between old-school NASCAR credibility and new media reach. The Dale truck video became a perfect example of how traditional racing figures and internet personalities can work together. What's really happening here isn't just about one YouTuber making it in racing. It's about NASCAR realizing that the future of the sport might depend on embracing creators who understand how to connect with modern audiences. The Cletus McFarland effect isn't going away. If anything, it's proving that there's a massive untapped audience ready to fall in love with racing if it's presented in the right way.
I never congratulate anybody, okay? Even my drivers and stuff, you put them out there, you expect them to win the race. That's what you put them out there for.
NASCAR fans were stunned. Richard Petty finally broke his silence after Bubba Wallace's huge Brickyard 400 win, but his words weren't what people expected. Instead of joining the celebration, Petty's comments lit up a major debate. Why now? And why Bubba? Let's break it down. This isn't just any driver talking. This is Richard Petty, the man known as the King, a 7-time Cup Series champion, and the most iconic name in NASCAR history. Wallace's win at Indianapolis ended a long 100-race drought, a breakthrough moment many thought would unite the garage in applause. But Petty didn't join in. Instead, he made clear his rule about recognition. Drivers shouldn't be congratulated for simply doing their job. In August 2025, Wallace delivered an emotional Brickyard 400 victory. The crowd erupted, social media lit up, and fellow competitors lined up to offer handshakes. It looked like the perfect comeback story. Wallace, now 31, showed his growth and determination as he celebrated in victory lane with his team. Yet amid the cheers, one key voice stayed quiet: Richard Petty. Why the silence? Petty explained it himself on the Full Race Recap podcast. His stance is simple.
You put them out there, you expect them to win the race. That's what you put them out there for.
For Petty, winning is part of the job, not an extraordinary event that demands applause. Younger fans called it harsh, but for those familiar with Petty's no-nonsense approach, it was vintage King, consistent, firm, and unapologetic. Petty emphasized that his view wasn't personal toward Wallace. It was about principle. In his eyes, respect in NASCAR is built through long-term consistency, not single race results. But then came the revelation that added fuel to the fire. Petty admitted there are two drivers he would publicly celebrate, Erik Jones and John Hunter Nemechek. Both compete for Legacy Motor Club, the organization that grew from Petty's own team. To Petty, the number 43 and number 42 cars remain linked to his legacy. There's a couple right now. The 43 driver and 42 driver, okay? Because we're still associated with those two numbers, he explained. Fans were surprised by what Petty said. Wallace once drove the number 43 car and helped keep the team going during hard times. Many people thought Petty should have at least mentioned that. But for Petty, things changed when Wallace left to drive for 23XI Racing with Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin. From then on, Wallace was just another driver to beat. Some people thought Petty's view was cold, while others said it was fair because he treats everyone the same. This shows a big difference in how people see NASCAR. Back when Petty raced, winning was expected. Drivers didn't cheer for their rivals. Racing was about staying tough, working hard, and being the best. Even Petty, with his 200 wins, didn't always get much praise. That shaped how he thinks today. But now NASCAR is different. Drivers often celebrate each other, fans want more emotion, and people like to see respect. That's why Petty's way of thinking feels old compared to today's NASCAR. Petty's loyalty to Legacy Motor Club adds another layer. Though Jimmy Johnson is now the primary owner, Petty still represents the team publicly and maintains deep ties to its history. If Jones or Nemechek succeed, Petty feels it reflects on his legacy. But the issue is that Jones hasn't won since 2022, and Nemechek is still searching for his first Cup Series win. At this moment, Petty has nobody in the winner's circle to celebrate, and that makes his silence about Wallace even louder. Meanwhile, Wallace continues to push forward. His Brickyard win brought confidence, sponsors, and renewed energy to his season. Driving for 23XI Racing, he's in the middle of the playoff fight and focused on performance. Away from the track, Wallace made it clear he isn't interested in team ownership after his driving career ends. When asked about following legends like Petty or Joe Gibbs into ownership, he responded, no desire. Even with Michael Jordan as a model, Wallace doesn't see ownership in his future. Instead, he's looking at other opportunities. Broadcasting is one possibility, if the compensation makes sense. Beyond that, Wallace has a strong passion for photography. He's been active with a camera since 2011, sharing creative shots of landscapes, portraits, and life away from racing. On a recent trip to Mexico City, he captured striking street photography with his Leica M3. His future goals include photographing the Dolomite Mountains in Italy, California's giant redwoods, and the icy beauty of Iceland. For Wallace, these outlets provide balance and expression outside of the competitive world of NASCAR. For now, though, his focus remains the playoffs. With the round of 12 set in New Hampshire, Wallace aims to keep his momentum alive. His Brickyard win gave him more than just points. It gave him a boost of confidence and a reminder that he belongs in the championship picture. Fans remain split over Petty's remarks. Some say Petty is stuck in the past, refusing to adapt to a changing sport. They argue that Wallace's achievement deserved recognition, especially given his connection to Petty's team history. Others defend Petty, insisting he is simply consistent and fair, treating all drivers by the same code. The conversation has exploded on social media, with strong opinions on both sides. Was Petty being mean to Wallace, or was he just holding firm to his belief system? What's clear is that this discussion is about more than Wallace or Petty. It reflects the ongoing tension in NASCAR between tradition and evolution. Petty shows the tough old way of racing, where winning was normal and not something people cheered about. Wallace and today's generation of drivers embody a different culture, one that values recognition, unity, and shared emotion. Wallace's Brickyard victory highlighted the joy and spirit of modern NASCAR. Petty's silence highlighted the rigid pride of the old school. Both perspectives are powerful, but they don't easily align. And as the sport continues to grow and bring in younger fans, these cultural differences will become even more noticeable. Here's the bottom line. Wallace's breakthrough win became a turning point in his season. Fans in the stands cheered, fellow drivers gave him respect, and social media was full of celebration. But Richard Petty stood apart. He chose not to congratulate Wallace, even though Wallace once drove his legendary number. 43 car. Instead, Petty made clear that the only drivers he would support are Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek, both connected to Legacy Motor Club. For Wallace, there were no words of praise. This moment is about more than racing stats. It shows the gap between NASCAR's old-school mindset and the culture of today's sport. What do you think? Should Richard Petty have celebrated Bubba Wallace's win, or was he right to follow his own rules? Drop your opinion in the comments, hit like for more NASCAR stories, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. One thing is clear, this conversation is far from finished. Cletus McFarland stepped into NASCAR, and everything felt different. People started talking, but no one knows what's really going on. What did he do, and why now? Something strange is happening, and it all starts here. Stafford Speedway hosted the Cletus McFarland. At the New England 900, Cletus McFarland turned a simple race into a wild party. He brought old Crown Vics with nitrous and train horns instead of fancy cars. Thousands came, not just to see who won, but to feel the noise, the fun, and the chaos. Racing felt alive again. It wasn't just about speed, it was about moments you'd never forget. Now here's what's happening. Word on the track is that Ram, the truck brand, might be eyeing a return to the NASCAR Truck Series. They've been absent full-time for more than 10 years, letting Ford, Chevrolet, and Toyota dominate. But now Ram might come back and Cletus McFarland could be behind the wheel. That possibility alone has started real talks. This isn't just about horsepower, it's about bringing in a whole new group of fans. A well-known brand teaming up with a huge online creator could draw massive attention. NASCAR leaders see the chance. More brands mean more rivalry, more sponsors, more fans. The thought of Cletus behind the wheel of a Ram truck in an official race isn't just exciting, it's wild. He might not bring years of traditional experience, but he brings eyes, he brings energy, and most of all, he brings that unpredictable spark that NASCAR has been missing. His very presence could turn quiet race weekends into full-on events. Suddenly, it's not just gearheads in the crowd. It's families, teenagers, people who only knew racing through highlight reels and viral clips. Some say Cletus might be what NASCAR needs to break into the digital world full force. His name alone brings headlines. His face shows up in thumbnails across millions of screens. Whether he's racing, building engines, or joking around with friends, he keeps fans watching. And when someone like that joins NASCAR, it doesn't just shake things up, it forces change. Cletus might race part-time, or he might help promote and create content behind the scenes. He could race, post videos, film the behind-the-scenes action, or maybe all of it. A full season, though? That's 25 tough races from February to November. It means practices, travel, qualifying, and staying focused for nearly a year. That might be too much while also keeping up his video and event work. Still, his promotional power is colossal. He commands millions of followers. His energy has the potential to pull in younger fans, kids and teens, and anyone who loves wild spectacles in a way nothing else can. Videos, behind the scenes, content, creative truck-themed clips, it could reshape how the sport is seen. Now picture this. In a quiet meeting room, a NASCAR team looks at everything. The packed stands at the New England 900. The cheers, the chaos, the excitement, and they decide they want Cletus. Not as a joke, not for one race. They want him on the team. They didn't worry about mistakes or wild moves. They saw real energy. Like a superhero or a wrestling villain, fans react to him. That's what NASCAR needs. They want big stories. They want fans to care again. So they picked McFarland. What makes this even more surprising is how quickly it all happened. It wasn't some long, drawn-out pitch. It wasn't months of slow meetings. From what insiders say, it took just a few talks, a few key races, and the team said yes. That kind of decision is rare in NASCAR. Usually, it takes months, sometimes years. But Cletus, he made it happen fast. Picture the moment he shows up. Crews in fire suits rush the garage. People turn their heads at a Crown Vic-style truck. The noise, the color, the cameras. McFarland has arrived. Fans follow. They film it. They cheer. It feels like a full show. It raises another question. What does this mean for other drivers? If Cletus can make the jump, who's next? Will other YouTubers or online stars get their shot too? And what about sponsors? Many of them have already started shifting their focus to digital creators who bring guaranteed views. A creator like Cleetus doesn't just show up to race. He shows up with a camera crew, a brand voice, and a built-in audience. That kind of attention is hard to ignore. But not everyone is happy. In the background, some teams are upset. They've worked for years chasing sponsors, proving themselves. Now, a YouTuber walks in and gets a big chance. One team member said it feels like skipping the line at Daytona. We work hard, now we race against train horns. You can see why some are angry. NASCAR has rules. This isn't how it normally works, but maybe that's why it is working. Fans want more than lap times. They want drama, emotions, drivers calling each other out, slammed doors, real moments. And Cleetus brings that without even trying. When he walks into the paddock, people don't just clap, they wait for what he does next. NASCAR needs that. The Truck Series is where bold choices are tested. This is the biggest one in years. If the plan works, more people might watch NASCAR than ever before. Kids, teens, and new fans might start watching. Sponsors will notice. Big brands might come back. The sport could grow again.